Wait a minute. Am I live? What's up, tubes of you? I think we're on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I just had a question come in from what's the best mulch around here? So I sent them to you guys. Yeah. All right. Where are we? Need to hurry up. All right. Anybody? Come on down. All right. Welcome. That's gonna work for now. I'm sure some more people will trickle in, and y'all are welcome to come hang out with us. We're just gonna be talking about trees, and again, just kind of some organic treatments, things that you can do right at home. You're good to go.
I think so.
That will make a very real difference in your tree's overall health and strength. So we're live on YouTube and Facebook as well. We're just going to go over, I'm just going to talk trees because this is very informal. We never had an official plan about what we're going to talk about. But you know, trees are really important to humans. There's a lot of studies actually about how the crime rates within cities go down when there are mature trees. Cancer patients recover more frequently and faster when they have a window with a treed view. We don't even think about it, but our whole house, most of our lives, we live inside of wood, and which comes from trees. So trees are very, very important. ADD symptoms go down. Mental most of you live in a home and you probably have a tree. And one thing you probably don't realize is that tree is providing real-time benefits for you all year round, whether it's winter or summer. They absorb water, they absorb carbon sequestration. That's the catchphrase nowadays is everybody's worried about climate change and all that. Well, guess what? Trees mitigate that. We are in Houston in a high flooding zone. And guess what trees do? They pull the first quarter to half inch out of the ground of that rainwater every single day. They can pull up to 100 to 200 gallons of mature live oak or mature tree can. So they're really important for us. But let's take a break and let's talk about what are trees, because this is going to be a foundation for everything else we talk about. Well, it turns out trees are actually mostly made of sugar. And what I mean by that is if we were to cut into tell me if it's getting real bad. But 45 to 50% carbon, 45 to 50% oxygen, 4% hydrogen, and about 3% nitrogen. So if you're a mathematician, I'm just gonna like not do this. I feel like an idiot holding this thing up. So y'all can hear me, right? I'm a loud person. Ask my wife and my son. So they're 45% carbon, 45% oxygen, 4 to college, university, and he wrote a book called Elements of Scientific Agriculture, and he said they found that only about 3% of it was left by volume, by weight. And so the conclusion they came up to was that trees are essentially made of air. Now, fast forward 170 years to today, what do we know? Well, we actually know that he was absolutely right. If you think our forefathers were just cavemen, you know, a bunch of idiots because we got all our cell phones and technology, I don't think so. I think they were a lot wiser than we give credit for. And so they found out it's made of air. We know that that is exactly true. Trees get their carbon from carbon dioxide, CO2, and from water. So H2O. So you've got carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Well, guess what leaves make? Each one of these leaves is going to produce what we call photosynthates. Photosynthates are essentially sugars, starches, carbohydrates, things like that, things that become the basic building blocks. Glucose, if we were to look at it on a scientific level, is C6H12O6. So there's carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, all that the tree needs right there. The other thing too is, did y'all know soil breathes? So, you know, when the radar man or the weatherman comes on and he's got these big red waves and blue waves and all that, those are high and low pressure. Now, soil can only breathe in when it's at a certain PSI or lower. So I'm an arborist. I go around looking at trees all the time. And one of the tools that I love most is called a soil penetrometer. I don't expect you to get it. It's $200 plus, but it's a great tool for me as a professional, because what I can do is I can stick this in the ground and I can tell how much PSI, how much pressure is in the soil, how compacted is it. And so most of you are, if you, unless you've been on some sort of organic program for a while, are going to have a compacted soil, especially if you've got a clay soil like we do here in Houston, right? So what I'm looking for is when those red waves come in and they push down, or excuse me, the blue waves come in, they push down. That's like the soil is breathing. And if the soil PSI is 150 to 200 PSI or greater, it will not get oxygen. It will not get air into there. By the way, who else seen a bag of fertilizer? You'll know that first number is nitrogen, right? N. It's completely unnecessary. Do y'all know what nitrogen smells like? Just breathe, because that's 78% of the air we breathe. And believe it or not, there are trillions and quadrillions of microbes, mostly bacteria, that will take that nitrogen out of the air, convert it to a form the tree can take up. Now you gave your tree nitrogen. It's got all of it needs right here in the air. The leaves even take in some of the nitrogen as well. So as long as your tree is healthy and thriving, then it's designing everything. Just look around. These guys are genetically programmed for survival. It's usually they only need us when we mess them up. Typically, walk into a forest, they generally do pretty good. And part of that reason is in the forest, you've got a whole process called nutrient cycling. And nutrient cycling, if you think you get a tree limb with a dead branch on it, that dead branch falls to the ground. Now there are trillions and quadrillions of microbes that are going to use that as a food source. They're going to eat it. That's going to return the elements back to the soil, and that's going to add a ton of carbon to the soil as well, thereby increasing the C, which is 45 to 50% of what trees are made of. So if you've got a really healthy soil, all of those beneficial microbes, whether they're fungus or bacteria, etc., they're going to thrive. They're actually going to go to work and give the tree everything that it needs. So most people, when they think of tree care, they think of pruning, right? And if we look across the board in arboriculture, in my industry, about 70% of all the work that's done throughout the US is pruning. But I think it should be the opposite. I think about 70% of it should be focused on the health of the tree. And secondly, we got to prune them because we want to live under them. We don't want them to break and come crashing down and hurt us, right? And destroy our homes. That's not good. So we live under the trees. We've got to do a little bit of light maintenance. But here's the thing about that is as the tree's moving, you'll feel the wind blow. You can look up and you can see the tree moving. Well, all of that energy gets transferred down into the woody tissue. So if the leaves are functioning properly, if the tree's hormones are growing it in a consistent pattern, everything's working well on the tree, generally, they're going to be a stronger tree as well. So you increase the health of the tree. One thing we can do is open up the soil, allow that oxygen and that air into the soil. That's going to be very good. By the way, most of the pathogens, the fungus, the bacteria, the nematodes, things like that, that would attack your tree, prefer an anaerobic condition. They want your soil to be very compacted, have no room for oxygen down in the soil. Most of the beneficials want the opposite. They have to have oxygen to thrive. And your tree needs oxygen at every part too. So if you've got one of these, that's great. If you don't, what you can do is take a long screwdriver. Real fancy technology. We get crazy here in arboriculture. Take the screwdriver and stick it in the ground. Is it hard to push down? You've probably got a compacted soil. So next thing, what do? Well, you can do two things. You see right now what I'm doing here, I'm making a lot of holes. And that can be one method that we can improve the oxygen in the air inside the soil. The other way is we can actually chemically change the structure of the soil by applying a few really simple ingredients. And if y'all haven't seen the Microlife station back here, go meet Mike. He's an awesome dude. You guys know Mark and them know all about this stuff. I come home, they're my neighbors, by the way. I come home and I go shopping at Microlife, and they're just so kind. They'll give me an extra bag or whatever that broke or something, and I pass it on to my neighbors. But really, really good stuff. They use a lot of humic acid. And humus, if you think of compost is all that organic matter that would have fallen from the trees in the forest. It's broken down. Humus is that compost broken down a second time. So it's like super concentrated compost. And all of that is essentially food for life. You and I, we don't like sugar. It's not good for our bodies. Plants love it. And as long as the trees and the leaves are functioning, they're going to do really well. Well, humic acid is really cool too. This clay that we have is mostly a basic clay, alkaline on a pH scale. If y'all remember like 8th grade science or whatever. And so whenever you've got a high alkalinity, magnesium tends to clump up the clay. And if you've got that, you can always sample, send it off to Texas A&M Life Extension. They'll tell you exactly what's in it. But if you got clay, you can probably assume you got some high levels of magnesium, high acidity, high alkalinity rather. And that humic acid, just by doing that over time, it's going to bind to the clay. And we call it chemical flocculation. I don't expect you to remember that. But what that does is essentially it's restructuring the clay particles to where there's more airspace in between. Calcium is another really great product. All of these are going to be really important. You can do that. You can add some molasses, which is going to stimulate, kind of emulate rather, essentially the sugars that the leaves would produce. So if you've got a stress tree, take some molasses, just spray it on there. Obviously, mix it with water. But humic acid, molasses is great. Seaweed's got all kinds of beneficial things for it. And again, Microlife is a fantastic brand. Go see Mike. He's a cool guy anyways, just to talk to. Kind of old school and just super passionate about what he does. So Microlife is great. The other thing, let's talk about watering. This is a sensitive subject because we all want to have nice yards and nice landscapes, right? So what we do is we put these plants out there that require 3-4 days worth of watering in this hot weather, and they prefer a good drainage. Well, the problem is clay tends to lock onto water really tightly. And so whenever we get these flooding weeks or months that we do here in Houston, all of that just stays in there for a long, long time. And if you notice in our clay soil, you'll get these cracks that form once it dries out. Well, that's really good, actually. Believe it or not, clay it's kind of rough for trees, but it's kind of really beneficial too, because when it opens up like that, again, all of that air and oxygen get into the soil and can really help the microbes and thereby the tree, your plants, everything to grow and thrive. Bless you. And so watering, most people overwater. And by overwatering, what you're doing is you're creating that anaerobic condition. The other thing is in a flooded soil, a lot of the nutrients can actually leach out of the soil. They can be drained down. So whenever you're watering over and over and over again, that can really put an impact on how many micro and macro elements are available to the tree. The other thing is whenever it gets flooded is all those soil particles basically start to sift down and they'll compress and compact. And that's going to add to that soil compaction. Bless you. And so watering, cut your irrigation system back. Here's the thing. Whenever I'm looking at a soil sample, I look at one number that I prefer over every other number. And that's not it's not nitrogen, it's not phosphorus, it's not potassium, it's actually carbon. I want to know what levels of carbon are in the soil, because that's going to tell me how healthy the tree is overall. Because if you have a really high carbon to nitrogen ratio, everything's going to thrive. The beneficial microbes, the soil, the plants, the shrubs, the grasses, right up to your trees. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, I wanted to talk about a few holistic things you can do. Take a screwdriver when you get home, jam it in the ground, see if it comes back dry or muddy. If it's muddy, don't water. If it's dry, you can go ahead and water. And if it's really tough to get in the ground, you might be looking at a really compacted soil. So again, there's a few things you can do. Humic acid, calcium's great, but all of that organic matter, any type of humates or even compost. One thing I really like to do is just spread a really thin layer, like 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of compost right over the soil of the roots, whether it's trees or otherwise. What's that? Introduce me to Joe. Yes. Oh, and this is my son Gabe, by the way. He's my right hand man. This is the best salesman here, by the way. So you did a great job, and just excited. Thanks for being here. Arborist, stop by and come see me. Actually, 2 days in the summer is seems to be the ideal amount. 2 days a week. Yeah. You want a little bit more dry time for the soil to dry out. But here's the thing: that can be rough on the grass too. So that's why you got to get the carbon levels at a higher rate. If you get the carbon levels higher, they'll store more water and make it available to the tree without releasing it into the air. So you don't get that evapotranspir or evaporation, but you still have it available to the tree. So, which essentially you want 2 to 4 inches of water every week for the tree. Do y'all have irrigation? Okay, good. Most people kill their trees with irrigation. Yeah. Oh, my pleasure, guys. We'll see you guys. Thanks a lot. Mark, thanks for being here. Yeah.
Around the tree. How do you feel about pulsing marshmallows versus it's not that versus compost? So what I'll do is
Yeah.
That's what we did in the backyard, put in the blueberry beds and
So really?
yeah, it's great.
He left the blueberries sit out during all that.
Two of the three are producing the blueberries. The other one is happy of clam.
I love it.
Next year will be a year.
Ours was my daughter ate all the blueberries before they were ready.
Right.
First year, so we're getting one or two good ones.
Yeah. With variety.
Really.
Well, interestingly, that's one of the motion that I think because it's already started, got hit when the photo was first facing through. So again,
Dad, you're welcome.
Legacy that I really like. No, I cut the. Thank y'all for sharing with me, by the way. Sorry to take over.
great
Yeah.
information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trees,
Overall.
Here.
I like the way that long sleeve one overriding like that.
It's real thin material too, but it ripstop, right?
Everybody says they're passion disaster. I've always been.
So when they first came in, there's a brand called Fanner, Pfann, or German brand,
Style.
and they make like outdoor gear, like kind of like you guys, the German style. They're kind of UK looking type, that thing. And I got my first pair of Fanner pants like first year they came in the US, and they called me fancy pants. It's real similar material. The reason I bought them is I watched the demonstration. The guy takes airline cable and he frays the end of it, and then he just rubs the material.
Hey Ethan, how you doing?
And this feels almost the same.
Oh, I'm out here right now recording.
That's awesome.
Hey.
And they made fun of me. They call me fancy.
I might be selling
my phone. They last a year or two climbing trees all day, every day. Like that's unheard of. Jeans, you get a month out of them, maybe.
Right.
It's not worth it. And they're hot. They kill you. This looks like very breathable, comfortable material. I was bringing tacos too, by the way.